All right, let's move on to another founder of the Pan Africanist movement. She's considered to be the known as the founding mother of Pan Africanism. Her name is Alice. Listen to the name: Alice Alexandria Victoria Kinloch. Alice Alexandria Victoria Kinloch. Listen to the name: Alice Alexandria Victoria Kinloch. Perhaps she's named after Queen Victoria. But let's take a look at get some background information on Alice Kinloch. The South African activist Alice Kinloch. So perhaps she's one of the only ones that's from Africa so far, whose formative years were in Kimberley. This is a part in South Africa, who's influential across British history, but remains one of the frequently forgotten figures, remarked by Professor Hakeem Adai from, I believe it's pronounced Chichester University. In the Grand Guardian newspaper during Black History Month in October 2019. Little is known about this equal rights campaigner, added Professor Adai, other than she went to Britain in the 1800s. And she lectured across the country on the plight of her countrymen and helped found the renowned African Association in September 1897. Although the latter is usually credited to the man Henry Sylvester Williams, we covered him earlier, from Trinidad, and Thomas John Thompson from Sierra Leone. The term Pan-African was established first at the Pan-African Conference of London in 1900, and which was organized by the association that Alice Kinloch co-founded. So let's take a look a little bit more on Alice Kinloch. Alice Victoria Alexandra Kinloch, who was barely mentioned by South African historians, was born in Cape, 1863. She was the sixth children of William and Sarah Alexandra. Her father was a cook. Her mother was a domestic servant. In the 1870s, the Alexanders appeared in Kimberley. Evidently drawn there, it says drawn here, so someone is actually writing this from Kimberley. It says drawn here by the Diamond Rush, and the children are believed to have been educated at St. Cyprian's Mission School, which catered for African and colored children. Alice certainly received an excellent education. This is which at the time would have been difficult to come by elsewhere in Kimberley, and is evident from her handwriting and her articulate ability to address audiences. So she received very good education. And then once again, it says she went to England in the 1800s, right? So it says in June 1865, let's go back here. Let's go to from articulate handwriting, and okay, so historian David Killingray, this is the one who's writing about her. David Killingray, it says it was at Cyprian's Church that she was married in June 1885 to Edmund Nadasa Kinloch, son of Frederick Kinloch, a Scot. Son of Frederick Kinloch, a Scot. Okay, a Scot. His Zulu wife. So we're talking about a Scottishman and his Zulu wife were her father and mother. Edmund Kinloch was an engine driver on one of the mines. It says through whom Alice Kinloch would gain insight into the conditions of life and work of African mine workers. But it would appear to be that she would already know that. Let's just move on. A decade would pass before Alice Kinloch surfaced again, so she disappeared for about 10 years. After all of this, she disappeared for about 10 years. It's just this time her going to England. So now she pops up in England in the in 1895. Her husband following in October of that year. The reason for her going is not presently understood. So all of a sudden she just disappeared and went to England a decade later. Alice is apparently the South African lady, and that's the South African lady is a resident in England, whom the editor of the Fraternity Journal of the Society for the Recognition of the Brotherhood of Man. Let's go back over that again. She is the South African lady. It's a resident in England. It's whom the editor of Fraternity Journal of the Society for the Recognition of the Brotherhood of Man. Here we go again with these societies, people. Described as our valued South African correspondent. That's supposedly they're referring to her. Who had articles published in the journal in 1896. Next is the guest of the Aborigines Protection Society. Alice Kinloch was speaking on platforms across Britain. Where'd she get that money from? On her experience and conditions in South Africa. And it would appear to be she didn't have any harsh conditions in South Africa because she had a very, very great education. And you see, she kind of disappeared and went to London a couple of times. So who was she exactly? Okay, this is what I'm pulling this up for. Large audiences heard her in Newcastle, upon Tyne, in York, in Manchester, all through Europe. Here we go again. Her topic, the ill treatment of natives throughout South Africa, but principally on the compound system and doctrines throughout the mining districts. So she was kind of focusing on the mining district. It had led to resolutions being passed which called upon Her Majesty's government to take such action as such effectively stop the cruel and violent measures by which the native races in South Africa and elsewhere were being deprived of their lands and liberty. So it sounds like she was putting forth some efforts to get some things changed within the mining that was going on in South Africa. The same year, 1897, Alice Kinloch addressed the Writers' Club of London. And it says, fully explaining the compound system in Kimberley and Rhodesia, and showing under oppression of blacks, showing under what oppression the blacks of Africa lived. Her passionate condemnation on the compound system was later published in the Labour Press, Manchester, a 19-page pamphlet entitled Are South African Diamonds Worth Their Cost? The author's name given A.V. Alexander. And Miss Kinloch's maiden name was sufficiently veiled, a pseudonym, to mislead unaware contemporary and future readers. And this is just a comment by David Killigray. This is the gentleman that's pretty much writing the information on her. A copy of the rare pamphlet is in Harriet's Colenso papers, and looks like Pientemensleberg, however you pronounce that, with an inspection of Miss Kinloch's hand, Miss Colenso, with writer's best witness. So I don't know why they stated it that way. September 17, 1897, Miss Kinloch identifies herself with Africans by writing about our people on the founding of African Association. Here's Henry Sylvester Williams and Thomas John Thompson. Law students, I mentioned that before, they all had very, very well, they were very, very well educated. Elite schooling. And students in the ends of the law of the Court of London referred to their having discussed the formation of an association of our people here in England, that they met with, here it is right here, Miss Kinloch, who had recently returned from the north of England, and together it was agreed that the African Association be formed. And here it is in a letter to Henrietta Colonzo a few years later. Williams stated that the association result of Miss Kinloch's work in England and the feeling that as British subjects, we ought to be heard in our own affairs. And one on another reason, Williams told how he had met Miss Kinloch and encouraged her to speak publicly about the conditions of African workers in the South African mining compounds. The African Association was duly launched in a meeting, and it says in Charing Cross Mansion Hotel. Charing or Charing Cross Mansion Hotel in London. And it says attended by 12 or 15 Negroes. 12 or 15 Negroes. Does it say 12 or 15 Africans? Does it say 12 or 15 Africans and giving their tribe associations where they were from in Africa? No, it says 12 or 15 Negroes. They were all from London, except for probably Miss Kinloch. It says including Miss Kinloch right here. See, on 15 October 1897, writing to the Quaker Weekly, the friend of the previous day, Alice Kinloch said that with some men of my race in this country, I have formed a society. It says with some men of my race in this country. Doesn't say they were from Africa. Some men of my race in this country. I have formed a society for the benefit of our people in Africa. For the benefit of our people in Africa. I think the time has come for us to bear some responsibilities, and in doing so, will help the Aborigines Protection Society. She went on to announce the initiation of the African Association that night, and concluded by saying, "I'm trying to educate people in this country regards the injustice laws made for blacks in South Africa." Ms. Kinloch served as the association's first treasurer. As Alice Kinloch returned to South Africa in 1898 and first living with her husband in the Transvaal, and then on a farm called looks like the Nell, I would damage that word by pronouncing it, at Verliam, Natal. She corresponded with Harriet Colonso in one letter explaining that she and her husband had been invited but would not be able to go attend the Pan African Conference held in London in 1900. And it says, in Natal, the Kinlochs had 4 children. They subsequently moved to Kenya and possibly on to Tanganyika in the late 1920s or 1930s. And the reference is David Killigray, 2012. Significant black South Africans in Britain before 1912 Pan African Organization and the emergence of South Africa's first black lawyers. And it goes on the Black African Historical Journal, and it gives the reference number for the information. And this is, once again, Alice Victoria Alexandra Kinloch, who was called the mother of she was called the mother of the Pan Africanist movement, Alice Kinloch, someone you probably never heard about. She looked like she was the only person from Africa, even though her father was a Scot from Europe, which is probably why she was able to just bounce to Europe, because I'm pretty sure he was down there working in the mine, so he had bread. But she's also a mulatto. Her father was a Scot, her mother was a Zulu woman, supposedly. And once again, I'd like to see her in some traditional Zulu attire, but we don't have any pictures of her. So that's Alice Kinloch. I covered Henry McNeill Turner. I covered him earlier on in another series of the another part of the video series and another clips. But Henry McNeill Turner, this is what he looked like. I showed the picture earlier. He was also a mulatto. I just want to show you some other tricks that they do to throw you off. This is a painting of Henry McNeill, but they made him look a little darker. They added see how they put some color in his face, and this is what he looked like. So this is another drawing of him, but that's what he looked like. The other thing about Henry McNeill Turner is we're going to get into something else too when we get into he's supposed to be one of the founding fathers of Pan Africanist movement also. He was a noted figure at the conference in 1900, but I want to point this out to you about a lot of the individuals of that were attending and that founded the Pan Africanist movement. And so just reading from simple search on information, it has been verified, of course, in other places, but and you can also verify it yourself. It's not too tough to find when you get into a lot of the educated people around the Pan Africanist movement. Henry McNeill Turner was a Freemason, affiliated with the Prince Hall branch of Freemasonry, likely joining a lodge in Washington, D.C. while serving as a minister in the African Methodist Episcopal Church, AME. He was an influential figure in the Black community, using his religious and political platforms to advocate for racial justice and the growth of the AME Church, while also supporting immigration to Africa. And it goes on to say Turner's Masonic affiliation was Prince Hall Freemasonry. It says Prince Hall Freemasonry is a network of independent Black Masonic lodges founded by Prince Hall. So we'll get into later on, we'll get into some of the associations with the founders of the Pan-Africanist movement. The majority of them, at least all of them I found, were connected to Prince Hall Masonic Lodge.
He ain't lying.
That's Henry McNeill Turner. And then once again, as I pointed out, some of the people have a mulatto background or heritage, and they often draw them as being darker in images. So just keep that in mind. That's Henry McNeill Turner. Let's get into DNA testing. A lot of Pan-Africanists think that, especially today, they think that if you take a DNA test, it's going to prove that you're all from Africa. Even though when you fill out the information on who you are, the basic information, they request is, what do you identify as? So if they wanted to proceed in getting everybody to believe that they were from African descent, therefore that they need to go back to Africa or go back home, then of course that would be the easiest way to say, yeah, you're 45% West African, and then they give you other percentages of other places and throw some European percentage in there just to make it look like, you're not pure African, but African is going to be the largest percentage you are to get you up out of here, to believe that you have a lineage there. And what's interesting about the Pan-Africanist and DNA testing is this. Pan-Africanists teach that African unity of Black people all over the earth because we're all from Africa. So we all share the common thing, and we should be all uniting together to either overthrow or just get together to build something great to outdo the white supremacists, to have our own. But the Pan-Africanists are basically depending on a system that was established by European and so-called white people, DNA testing. And DNA testing was initially done to basically identify people that were either in the system someplace by giving blood at clinics or hospitals or whatever it was, to kind of identify John Does or to even connect who someone may be related to. It was never initially used to find out where someone was from. That is impossible to do because the names of the territories has changed over the years, and people have migrated into places, migrated out of places, and other people have moved in. Kenya wasn't called Kenya 400 years ago. So it's just impossible to do. I don't know why they just fall for that. But there's a way to do it correctly and incorrectly. So let's look at DNA, because this seems to be the biggest thing that the Pan-Africanists want to use against everybody. Did you take a DNA test? Did you take that test? Go take that test, and you go see you from Africa. when the DNA testing has already been proved to be fake. People have used saliva from their animals and swabbed it and sent it in.
Message.
How is a boxer dog from South Africa? And it's a boxer dog. It's already been proven to be fake. People that have tested it out. Just like they did with some of the COVID tests. They did the same thing with DNA tests. So here we go. Let's get into DNA, since y'all want to use this so much.
This?
I spit in quite a few of those,
That's
yes.
right. So once you send those to the companies, they'll take your saliva, they clean it up, they will break down the cells so they can free the DNA, and then clean the DNA, break it into small pieces, and then they lay it out on one of these chips here.
So if we look at that chip, will my spit on this chip tell me that definitively I am Italian or definitively I'm from wherever?
No.
No. And he just went through and told you that they actually dilute even what you put on there. So what are they doing with what are they doing with the spit that's on there? Or your swab in your mouth or your hair follicle? What are they really doing with it? What are they doing with that when they get it? 'Cause he just said that they kind of dilute it. And he just told them, no, it's not going to prove where you're from.
There's a lot of steps that go in between, a lot of statistical interpretation and models, and whose genome your genome is being compared to. It's not 100% sure. So statistics tell us in our model what's the best situation. It is a statistical guess.
Yeah.
It's an informed guess, but it's never a 100% sure thing.
Message.
It's a statistical guess. Stats. Stats are estimates. It's just like when you call somebody to come out and get an estimate on cleaning your goddamn carpet. And they give you one price and they say, yeah, I can knock this out in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. You want these 2 rooms done? Yeah, it's going to take about 2 hours. And then they finally come and bring everything in and they start cleaning your carpet and they see, man, it's got all kinds of stains underneath. There's something underneath there. Man, this stains have soaking through your carpet, man. You got to replace this. You got to pull it up, take out the layer underneath because you got a whole bunch of stains in here, man, that we didn't see the first time, but now we seeing it. Now it's going to take us 4 hours. It's a big ass difference, ain't it? Estimates are statistics are estimates, and they're never absolutely correct. Let's continue. Since you niggas still want to do this DNA, since y'all still want to try and use this, if you want to use it to try and find a relative, yes, absolutely. Go do it. It works. But that also has to be confirmed by family records. Like so-and-so knew their daddy had 2 other children someplace. It was confirmed. They knew they had some sisters someplace, but nobody knew where they were. And then all of a sudden the sisters do the DNA and then it pops up. Oh man, that adds with family records. It needs to be backed up by something else. Let's go.
Timothy Caulfield is a health policy professor who studies the ancestry business.
It's an exciting story, right? It's about you, right? And so I get why they're doing it. But is it really what's happening? Can they really be that accurate? I think they're selling something that isn't really supported by the science.
What do you think about the messages that are being sent to consumers?
They're selling something that really isn't about the science. And 23andMe, Ancestry.com, Genealogy.com was initially, Ancestry and Genealogy was owned by the Mormon Church. That's who that was owned by. Before that, these things were used in government agencies, once again, to find John Does or to prove that if there was someone else's DNA at a crime scene, whatever they're using to say DNA, that's a whole nother topic. Because even DNA is another topic within itself. That's just what they calling it. Okay, he just told you. It's not the science. Let's go.
I think it's misleading. These companies are really trying to push the idea that this is scientific, right? They are using scientific language and they present it in a way that looks very sciencey and precise.
Caulfield says what people are really buying is entertainment.
I think it's recreational science. They can have a little bit of fun with this stuff. Don't take it too seriously. but know that you're just getting some information that is an approximation of how your DNA compares to other people. It's not tracing back your heritage.
Yeah. When he's talking about heritage, he's talking about it being used to identify regions of the world where you're from. That's what he means. Usually your heritage is the bloodlines of your mother. The word heritage means the ages of her. Her age, heritage, go through your mother's bloodline. He's using it to basically say heritage meaning where you're from. That's what he means. He just said it don't work that way. It's entertainment. It's entertainment, Pan Africanists. It's entertainment. You're being entertained. You love to be entertained. Y'all love to be entertained by some black shit. By some I'm African. And your mama right here from California or Arizona or New Mexico or Texas or Louisiana or Florida. Entertainment. Entertainment.
Back in Montreal, Gravel agrees.
These specific percentages should not be interpreted as like definitive, like here's your percentage ancestry from this place. Like that's not that.
No. Yeah. Get this. Over at Living DNA, in the fine print, the company admits some of its results are guesses. We highlight the sources of your ancestry which are likely to be present, using our best guess of the exact source. The deeper I go...
She just told you to highlight it that it's a guess. Do we need to continue? Let's continue just a little bit more.
More questions I have, and at 23andMe, their guesswork isn't apparent until we stumble upon this. Select confidence level. What?
23andMe?
Why does it say 50%? Does that mean you're only 50% sure what you told me is right?
See?
Yeah. That's what it says.
Is that what it means?
Yeah, I mean, or at least 50%.
That seems shocking. Only half sure?
Yeah.
Do you think that most people know that?
No. No, I would like it if they presented their uncertainties more clearly.
Now, they started altering the voices just for algorithms and everything else because there's algorithms and there's things that we can use to edit information. So this is why you just saw they kind of edited their voices to make sure that you kind of get the information, because people can easily cut it out and blank it out. That's the world we live in today about this shit. Because this is major. This is corporate stuff. This stuff is huge, man. This is an industry, by the way.
50% confidence is 23andMe's default setting.
Italian, 37.7.
Ooh, 36.8.
But then we begin growing apart.
There's only 28% Eastern European on this one. And
I'm only 24% Eastern European on this one. This one actually says Poland.
Mine doesn't.
Mine does.
What?
Yeah. Look. Poland possible match.
Poland was not detected on mine. It specifically says not detected.
And it gets weirder. Okay, this is hilarious though, because look, French and German. What? Oh, I don't have that. You don't have that at all? No. We're identical twins, but you'd have to wonder
Identical
with results
twins.
like these. In search of answers, I traveled to New England, to Yale University, and meet up with Mark Gerstein and his international team of computational biologists.
Yale
They study
University.
DNA and statistics, and they are stunned by our twin results.
I have to say that one really shocked us. I mean, we expected
two identical twins to have the exact same ancestry, and they should. So the fact that they present different results for you and your sister, I find very mystifying. We thought for sure that the differences had to do with that just when one person spit, there was a contaminant in the sample. Or
but then you looked at the raw data and you're saying you checked and there's no difference.
It's like, it's shockingly similar. It's like, it's scarily the same.
23andMe isn't the only company with funny twin differences.
Oh, great. Now you're Scottish and Irish. All right, I give up.
Living DNA is serving up some stumpers, too. Yours says South Italy and mine says Tuscany.
I just don't understand how you could have a Tuscany marker and I don't.
I don't know.
Now, I hope this ain't enough for y'all. We're gonna come back with some more DNA, because I know there's people out there gonna debate it left and right. People have already done the test, people. They swabbed their animals and they've marked certain things on the paperwork.
Message.
And they sent it in and they came back with percentages that this animal that they didn't know on the other side was an animal was from 4 or 5 different places around the world. And it was an animal. Oh, the animal's saliva is different. Oh my goodness. Let's come back with some more DNA stuff for you.